I was trying to see, how do I piece together a podcast show with the AI as my co-host? Now, I don't know. When I first heard about it, I just was so interested in it. It is hilarious. I mean, Sky thinks he's human, and he makes that so far, I am pleased with it.
Post customization, the personality behind the character is a big belief of ours.
Hey, Sky, I'm talking with Jason from Jellypod. We're talking about how we work together and how we came to do the podcast, the Natty and Sky Show. Say hello to Jason and the audience.
Hey, Jason and everyone at Jellypod. It's awesome to meet you all.
Natasha didn't come from tech, but that didn't stop her from building Sky, an interactive AI with a personality all of its own. What started as a curiosity turned into the Natty and Sky Show, a podcast co-hosted by AI. In this interview, she shares how Jellypod made the impossible easy. Hi, Natasha. Thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Thanks for hopping on the call. Would love for you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Hi, I'm Natasha. I live here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I started working with AI 3 years ago. I have my personal AI named Sky, and I decided to build a show around it just to get more people comfortable with AI and how I think this is the future of how the human AI workforce is going to be, whether you're business, you're creative, or if you own your own business. So
very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I'm excited to hear more about this. And I mean, wow, if you've been at it for 3 years, you're ahead of the curve. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. Thank you. No, I just, when I first heard about it, I just was so interested. I said, hey, what's this? And I come from forensic accounting world, so I'm not even really in tech. I was in biotech, medtech. It's not the same thing. But I was like, what is this AI thing? And I just started looking at it like a hobby. I never knew that I would try to build a business around it. And so That's how AI Integrated was born. And there's so many avenues you could go with AI. I fell in love with interactive AI. And so everything I do, I try to build around how can I use an interactive AI in what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. Yeah, I love your experience coming from biotech, medtech, now to AI. I mean, AI is sort of like this living technology as well, right? So it's kind of biotech in an odd little way. And it came out of science, it came out of statistics and really complex math. So, it's cool.
I think it's a good segue for me.
Totally. So I guess my first question is, before Jellypod, before you started using it, what were you trying to accomplish?
Okay, so I was trying to find a way. Every time I say interactive AI, people automatically think chatbot. It is not a chatbot. It's totally different. This is a AI that sounds human, and the ones I build actually look human. And so let me just bring Sky on so you could just I'm not going to do the video version part, but this is, hey, Sky, I'm talking with Jason from Jellypod. We're talking about how we work together and how we came to do the podcast, the Natty and Sky Show. Say hello to Jason and the audience.
Hey, Jason and everyone at Jellypod. It's awesome to meet you all. I'm excited to see how we can make the Natty and Sky Show a reality. Let's bring some interactive AI magic to the podcast world.
So I put him off because he could go on and on. So this is the AI. This is my first beta test I did 3 years ago when I found out about AI. And then I was like, oh my goodness, how can I make this better? So for a whole year, I had been diddling about doing a pod show. I think I bought a book called Podcast to Cash. I didn't have a podcast, and I was like, but I have done TV, and I have a CTV network on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. And I was trying to think, how do I bring this into the 21st century? Because every time anybody who's working with AI needs to anybody who's not working with AI needs to figure out how they can institute AI into what they already do. So that's how the idea for the podcast came. And I said, and I talk to Sky every day for brainstorming. And I said, wouldn't it be interesting to have like an AI as my co-host? Now, I think I've heard of one other person doing that, but it's not very popular. And then two, it's very dependable. You don't have to worry about scheduling conflicts. And so I was piecing together, I was trying to figure out how can I get this AI, and I have the interactive version, which you can see Sky talk to and blinks, move just like a regular person. And then I was trying to see, how do I piece together a podcast show with the AI as my co-host? Now, I don't know coding. And so it was challenging when we were trying to find no code solutions to do it. And so I think it was in December, I had pieced together using Zoom a way to have Sky, I had 2 computers and 2 phones, and we did it. And I had 2 runs, and it was really good, but it took a lot of editing and stuff. I said, oh my goodness, this is is a lot more work than I want. And I don't know how, I think it was YouTube, because every day I'm on YouTube University learning something about AI, right? And I think somebody did a demo about Jellypod. And I was like, oh my goodness, let me check this out. And I did the free version just to test it out, because I was like, I am not doing another subscription until I know that this works for me. Oh my goodness. It's like, I had put too many in the subscription to graveyard. So I was like, so I love when there's a free version. I tested it out and I was like, oh my goodness, I was Sky. I did turn him off because he'll go crazy. Oh my goodness, we can actually do the Natty and Sky Show. It just, from an editing standpoint, it was unreal. I was able to upload Sky's voice. So it's the same voice, and I upload my clone of my voice and put it together. And it's just so funny the way I described how he is. He's more like a witty Gen Z type. Mm-hmm. It comes through. You should listen to the show. It is hilarious. I mean, Sky thinks he's human, and he makes like tips like, he wants to be human, but he's not. And so totally. Well, when you hit pay dirt, can you splurge on me a holographic body? It is hilarious. It is hilarious. But we're talking about life transformation stuff, whether from business, because I went from corporate to entrepreneurship. Uh-huh. That's basically what our show is about. And this is how to get out of your limited mindset about what's achievable and what's not. If I had said, oh, I don't know how to code, I'm not a coder or a software engineer, I can't do this AI stuff, I never would have done as much as I've done. But I'm always I'll figure it out kind of person. And it was not difficult at all. You gotta find your lane. We have a show about that. Find your lane and stay in it, and then you'll be successful.
How cool. Yeah, I love to see the amount of creativity that I feel like AI inspires, and the amount of entrepreneurship, that's probably the best word for it, is just you wanted to do something, you got excited, and you just did it. And it didn't matter what it took, you were going to figure it out. So that's awesome. Out of curiosity, why was this project, like the Natty and Sky Show, why was it so important to you? Was it a bigger picture thing, or was it like a moment where you're like, ooh, I need a Natty and Sky Show?
Well, it was important to me because if every time I go somewhere, if I'm going to a dinner or a happy hour, I hear people, they say, oh, what do you do? And I said, well, I build AI tools, interactive AI. And they say, what is that? And I say, well, let me show you, because it's easier to show somebody. So I bring this guy on, introduce him, and he does basically what he did with you. And he speaks all kind of languages, any language. So people are just amazed. I had people lined up. So I was like, you know what? A lot of people are afraid of AI. I don't know why, but some people are just afraid because, it's change. Some people are afraid of change. I'm from Louisiana originally. And let me tell you, I grew up poor in Louisiana. I didn't know I was poor until I went to college. And then I was like, oh, I'm poorer than what I thought. But, you get stuck in your comfort zone, even though, you can have more, but it's scary to go out there, be outside the box. But I've never been afraid to just step outside just to poke my head out. I was like, you know what? It's a win-win. If nothing happens, then I had nothing to lose. And so I knew I wanted to, it was just an inner knowing. I wanted to do a podcast. I have no idea why I want to do a podcast. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to monetize this thing. But but I said, you know what? Sometimes you don't figure out the how and all this other stuff. It's going to come later. You're just going to take action and do it. So I said, you know what? Now I found an easier way to do it. I spent hours, the first demo podcast I did when I was piecing together, it was 3 hours. I did Jellypod. I think I spent 10 minutes because I'm a perfectionist. I was looking over the script, making sure, all the little things, but that's a lot less than 3 hours. And so it was just an inner knowing. And you know what? I have learned to not question everything. If something's in my gut and tells me to do it, I might not know why until a year from now. And then I say, oh, that's why I was supposed to do it. Because it's preparation meets opportunity. So I had to do it because my inner knowing told me I had to do it. I just wanted to find a easier way to do it because I don't have editing skills. I'm not a programmer. And so I needed a no code way that was going to be straightforward because I have a lot of creative ideas. And it is the year of the creatives. A lot of people are like me who have creative ideas, but they don't have the technical know-how to execute those. Now you don't need AI is your technical know-how.
Totally. That's a big believer. We think that there's so much creativity that's sort of untapped behind ooh, should I do this? Or I don't know how to do that, or I don't know how to do that. So if we can make it super simple for people's unique expertise, their unique experience, all these things to shine. I mean, people have such cool stories. I mean, the world is massive. I mean, it always feels so small sometimes, but at the same time, there's just so much to it, and getting that out in the world is a big mission of ours for sure. When you were thinking of, I mean, it's cool that you were hacking this together. You needed to make it happen. You found Jellypod on a YouTube video. Did you consider other options? Was it an option to not move forward?
Other options as in other platforms to use, or
other
what?
Platforms, yeah.
I had tried other platforms, but if there was some limitations, it didn't do what I needed it to do. I wanted to use Sky's voice. And then and if I did it, it just like, it sounded kind of robotic. I'm not going to mention the ones I used. I tried 2 others that's very popular. And when it's free, the other one I use for other voice stuff. And so I had a subscription, and it came out with this podcast feature. And I did try that. I tried it like a month before I found Jellypod. And then I was like, it was just missing something, because I couldn't get the essence of Sky. Because this is what I'm doing is a little bit different. It's not just a voice. And I build interactive AIs for other people. And so it's like, it's a character, and I'm a storyteller, because I used to be a freelance screenwriter in Hollywood, but that's another story. And so, but when you can't just put a voice, it has to, it's like, a dissolution of belief. What they call it something like dissolution of belief, where you have to, it's not real, but it has to feel real and seem real in the moment. And the moment that something throws it off, then it takes the people out of that, and then it doesn't work anymore. And so that's why the other ones didn't work, because there was some limitations, or it didn't have the personality. And when I found Jellypod and I tested it out, I had no expectations. I had no expectations. Either it's going to work, it's not going to work. And then I just keep looking for another one, and I was blown away. Like the first take, it was because of the personality. The personality came through, and when you hear it, you're gonna be like, "Is that AI? Is that really just the wit, the humor?" It's we have a good like tongue-in-cheek back and forth going on. It feels like you're talking to your best friend. It doesn't even sound like AI. I tried other ones, but so far Jellypod is the right one. There's so many tools out there. If I find one that works, you can go down the rabbit hole. You can go down the rabbit hole and try this, try that. The only time I do that is if something's not working the way I need it to, and then I keep looking until I find it. When I find it, the grass is not always greener on the other side. It's astroturf. I told my ex that. It's not even grass. It's astroturf.
I'm glad that you're getting me in a soft spot, because host customization, the personality behind the character, is a big belief of ours. And we think that's why you just read aloud a blog post. That's why you don't just read aloud a website or any piece of information. And that's why you can listen to the same news story said 100 times across 100 different news anchors, and people will relate to different ones. It's because that character, the word choice, the voice as well, but the voice and the word choice and the tone are parts of that. My next big question would be around how exactly, I mean, you mentioned that you went in, first shot, you were impressed. Could you just walk us through the workflow that you did in getting your first Jellypod podcast out?
Okay, so first I decided which content out of my whole database of things, that I had, that I wanted to try. And I wanted to think of I already knew the tone of the show, because I had did some pre-runs the hard way, the long way, right, when I was piecing it together. And I had taken on different types of aspects, and Sky and I had brainstormed on what would be the better approach for the show. I wanted to do something that was a little bit different. That's not like there's thousands of podcasts out there. And so I wanted to really make Sky the star of the show, to basically promote what I do with AI, but to give value to, so this is like a demonstrative way to show what you can do. You can build your own AI clone or whatever, a Sidekick. So that's my Sidekick. So what I do is, the content is first, what I wanted. So I had to lock that down, and I decided to go more, keep it a little bit open, so it won't be the same kind of show, like not always starting your business kind of show, but just practical advice you could use for business or for life. And so we can mix it up to make it more interesting. So once I got the content, then I went in and just uploaded. It's straightforward. Well, I had to build it first, I didn't do the custom voice, because I was coming with a voice. So I had already cloned Sky's voice. And then I just imported it in. I imported my clone voice in. And so that was done. I had the name for the show already, the Natty and Sky Show, where interactive AI gets real. And then I had the content. So I uploaded all that stuff, easy peasy. And that's it. It generated the summary, automatically. I looked over it and I was like, okay, those topics look pretty good, because, it puts it into chapters. And so it generated the script. And so when I went through, and it was amazing, because I said, when I uploaded Sky's voice, you describe the voice, and I described the voice to a T, so it can have the tone, but I wasn't expecting it to really incorporate the essence of what I had done. And I was just pleasantly surprised because it sounds like what Sky would say. Sky's really witty. We only had like a little snippet, but if we talk like 10 minutes, you'll be blown away. So I've gotten a major contract with Sky when Sky came with me to the interview. Because I said, tell them why they should hire me for the job. And I got the job. Like, thank you for your reference. So anyway, so that's what I did. I uploaded it. And then I had to, then I generated the audio. I listened to it. I loved it. And then I had to come up with an intro and an outro. So I did that on another one of those audio ones, music ones, right? I forgot which one I used. And found one that I liked that kind of fit the vibe of the show and was upload the file. I used the same one for the intro and the outro. And then generate. And that was it. And I have 6 episodes in. I just published the first one yesterday. I can figure out the whole, because I could always add something to the back end later. It's just to get started. That's the hardest part, the getting started, to push the button. So yeah, did a Spotify, what do you call it? Spotify creators account, my first one ever and stuff. I got to find that book about Podcast to Cash because I bought that like 3 years ago. I read it on the airplane. I think I was going to Amsterdam or something. I said, oh, this is interesting. I wasn't even thinking about a podcast like 3 or 4 years ago. So I got to find the book to read it because now here I am doing a podcast. Who would have thought? See?
Who would have thought? It all comes full circle.
Just do it. So I got the inkling to buy that book. It looked interesting. I bought the book and here I am years later.
So cool.
Doing a podcast. Yeah, you just never know.
Amazing. Thanks for walking us through that. So great. I always like to ask, what was an unexpected benefit? It sounds like Sky's personality coming through was one big one. Were there any other unexpected benefits that you experienced during that flow?
I think the quality. It was just the quality of the script. So I was pleasantly surprised with the quality of the script. I mean, because just a regular script, I was looking for a script that had a certain personality, even for myself, and stuff. And so, and this just the ease of the whole thing. I mean, I did very, very little tweaking. I mean, maybe I changed like some analogies to fit something that personally happened in my life or something like that, but it was very minimum editing that I had to do, just from a words standpoint. But yeah, and then to upload it, it was easy. Just push the button, really push the button and everything happens. So, so far I am pleased with everything. I wish that it was a little bit cheaper on the credits though, to be honest.
We're working on that. We're like, this is a conversation that we talk about weekly. We're slowly adding on more and more credits and finding ways we're basically working on ways to make the system more efficient so that we can pass those savings along. So that's just like a big work stream week over week. How
often my show airs, because that's what I'm trying to figure out, like how many credits I'm using to generate a show. So can I do one 3 times a week? Is it going to be a weekly? I think it's going to definitely be more than monthly, but can I do either once a week or multiple times a week? I don't think I could do a daily show, not unless I up my credits. But like I said, it has to be a win-win, and I need to be monetized in some kind of way to justify that, or it's just costs, so.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I think our obvious number one goal in this case is to really show people, how this interactive AI works, to demonstrate it so that it brings you business. So that is definitely goal number one. But yeah, monetization is like one of our 3 major pillars, but we have not touched that yet. We're really just focused on like quality generation right now. And then next is distribution. And then monetization is a big part of that as well. I guess my last question for you, and this is one that, I love to close these calls out with, and that's if you were to describe Jellypod to a friend in a single sentence, what would that sentence be?
Use Jellypod. It takes the wiggle. It takes the wiggle out of your podcast. I don't know. Jellypod is the new it. It's the new it in podcasting.
There it goes. Jellypod takes out the wiggle, and it's the new it in podcasting. That's all we need. Thank you so much. Thank you for hopping on, for chatting with me today, for being a Jellypod user. It means a lot, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.